So hi, we're going to begin. We are going to continue our next video, which is on the cell biology of organization, part 2. So kita dah bincang tentang living processes in unicellular organism. So sekarang kita akan tengok kita punya living processes in multicellular organism pula, and then kita akan terus habiskan dengan level of organization in multicellular organism. So jom kita start. So living processes in multicellular organism. So tadi kita bincang pasal unicellular organism. So kita sekarang tengok pasal multi pula. So macam saya cakap tadi, multicellular organism maksudnya they are the organisms that made up of many cells. So macam kita manusia, kita terbina daripada pelbagai jenis sel. Kita ada sel epithelium, kita ada sel saraf, our nerve cell, our epithelial cell, our muscle cell. So multicellular organism begins as a single cell zygote which continue to grow and develop into a multicellular adult through mitotic cell division, cell growth, and cell differentiation. So what is cell differentiation? So cell differentiation is a process of a cell becoming specialized in structure and function. So apa pula cell specialization? So cell specialization is an adaptation of a cell through a process of cell differentiation that enables it to carry out a specific function. So dalam badan kita ni kita ada banyak sel. We are made up of many kind of cell. So the first one, the most common that we have is our epithelial cell. So what are their specific function and adaptation? So their specific function is to provide a physical protection and also to helps in gases diffusion, absorption of nutrients, secretion, and also movement. So as for the adaptation, is they are thin and flat and also arranged closely to one another. So sel-sel epithelial ni biasanya dia berstruktur nipis dan rata, dan dia akan duduk rapat antara satu sama lain. Sebab apa? Untuk memudahkan pertukaran bahan, contohnya pertukaran gas. So next we have our muscle cell. So muscle cell is to contract and relax to produce movement. So dia punya specific function adalah untuk contract dan relax untuk menghasilkan pergerakan. So the adaptation it consists of many myofibrils, which are the protein fiber that are able to contract in the presence of energy in the form of ATP. ATP tadi apa? Adenosine triphosphate. Myofibrils contract and shortening causes the shortening of muscle cell to produce a movement. The contracted muscle will relax to return back to its original state when is pulled by another muscle. So untuk benda-benda macam ni dia perlukan apa? Dia perlukan tenaga. So siapa yang akan bekalkan tenaga untuk dia? Siapa lagi kalau bukan kita punya mitochondria. So mitochondria is abound in the muscle cell to supply the required energy. So biasanya dekat muscle cell ni kita punya mitochondria memang akan jadi banyak lah. Next we have our nerve cell. So specific function dia is to transmit ataupun conduct electrical nerve impulse from one part to another part of the body. So dia punya adaptation pula, it has many dendrites extending from its cell body and a long axon to transmit the nerve impulse. So the axon has a myelin sheath for insulation to speed up the transmission of nerve impulses. Next we have our red blood cell, or sometimes kita akan panggil red blood cell kita sebagai, dia ada dua nama lah. Sama ada kita singkatkan dia jadi RBC ataupun juga kadang-kadang kita panggil dia sebagai erythrocyte. So cyte kat belakang ni menunjuk kepada sel. So ni rupa dia. So specific function dia, it transport oxygen to all the cell body. So dia akan hantar kita punya oksigen ke seluruh badan kita. So it has a thin membrane for easy diffusion of oxygen. It also contain hemoglobin for the attachment of oxygen. They have no nucleus, even though dia satu sel tapi dia tak ada nucleus. Kenapa dia tak ada nucleus? Sebab dia nak menambahkan bilangan hemoglobin kat dalam badan dia. To accommodate more hemoglobin, untuk apa banyak hemoglobin? Supaya boleh angkut lebih banyak oksigen, to transport more oxygen efficiently. It also a biconcave disc shape to increase the total surface area per unit volume ratio for a higher rate of respiratory gases diffusion. And it is flexible to squeeze through the narrow capillary. So macam kita tahu, kapilari-kapilari darah kita dia sangat kecil, it's very narrow. So sebab itulah kita punya red blood cell penting untuk dia mempunyai keadaan di mana dia fleksibel. So dia boleh pass through the narrow capillary. Next, bila kita ada red blood cell, kita mesti ada white blood cell kita ataupun WBC. Kadang-kadang, okay, white blood cell. So, specific function dia is to protect the body against infection from pathogen. Pathogen ni apa? Pathogen ni adalah bahan bendasing luar ataupun any foreign substances that enter our body. So, the adaptation, it can change its shape to squeeze through the wall of the blood capillary into the intestinal spaces to go after pathogen. Okay, bila dia kata dia boleh change its shape, apa maksudnya? Maksudnya dia ada irregular shape. Berbanding dengan kita punya red blood cell tadi, dia ada biconcave disc shape. So next we have our sperm cell. So sperm cell kita tugas dia cuma satu je, which is to fertilize with the ovum ataupun kita panggil dia sebagai egg cell. So dia punya adaptation pula, it has a long tail to swim towards the ovum, has a stream-like shape for easy movement, and carries enzyme in the head which are acrosome to break down the egg membrane so that it can penetrate into the ovum, and the middle piece of the sperm contain mitochondria. So sperm ni bentuk dia macam ni. Dia ada kepala yang berbentuk stream-like, lepas tu dia ada middle piece, dan barulah dia ada echo. So dekat middle piece ni banyak mitochondria, dan dekat hujung ni pula dia ada satu enzim yang dinamakan sebagai acrosome. So next, tadi kita cerita pasal animal cell. So sekarang kita tengok kita punya plant cell pula. Oh, sebelum saya terlupa, ingat kita sebagai manusia, kita share benda yang sama dengan animal. So when we are talking about animal cell, we are actually also talking about human. So apa yang ada kat manusia biasanya akan ada juga dekat haiwan. So next we have our spongy mesophyll cell. So spongy mesophyll cell, kalau korang tak tahu dia dekat mana, dia dekat sini. Yang loosely arranged ni. So dia punya specific function adalah untuk facilitate gases diffusion. Tak kisahlah what kind of gases, carbon dioxide or oxygen in the leaf. So dia punya adaptation pula, it have spongy mesophyll cell, irregular shape and loosely arranged with large air spaces between them to increase the diffusion of carbon dioxide and oxygen. So dengan kata lain, ruang-ruang yang jarak antara diorang ni digunakan sebagai tempat untuk meningkatkan kadar penyerapan gas oksigen dan carbon dioxide. Next we have our xylem vessel. So specific function dia adalah untuk transport water and minerals from the roots up to the body parts, and also to support and give strength to the stem. Dia punya adaptation pula, the xylem vessel is formed from a dead xylem cell without cross wall and joined end to end to form a long hollow tube to transport water and dissolve mineral salt. So the xylem vessel wall is deposited with lignin, which is prevent it from collapsing, and it is waterproof. So kenapa dia kena waterproof? Sebab dia nak angkut air. Kalau dia bukan waterproof, apa akan jadi? Air akan diserap keluar daripada xylem vessel ni tadi. Next we have our sieve tube. So sieve tube ni pula adalah berfungsi untuk transport organic substances such as sucrose, amino acid, hormone in the shoots to the other parts of the plant. So dia punya adaptation pula consists of a single row of elongated living sieve tube to form a long cylindrical column to transport organic substances. So the cellulose wall of a living sieve tube cell are not thickened with lignin, and the cross wall separating the wall are perforated with pores to form sieve plates. So sieve plate tu yang ni ha. So a matured sieve tube contain mainly cytoplasm with no nucleus to transport organic substances. Strand of cytoplasm pass through the pores and allowing to contact with the next cell to help the transport of substances between the cell. So dengan kata lain, dia akan berhubung antara satu sel dengan satu sel lain untuk menghantar organic substances. So next we have our root hair cell. So specific function dia adalah untuk absorb water and dissolve mineral salts from the soil. And then dia punya adaptation pula, you have a long and narrow root hair to increase its total surface area per unit volume ratio for efficient absorption of water and mineral salts from the soil. Its cell sap is hypertonic to the soil to absorb more water. So bila dia kata hypertonic, maksudnya dekat dalam ni kurang water potential, menyebabkan air daripada luar untuk masuk ke dalam. It also has a lot of mitochondria to supply energy needed to absorb mineral salt by active transport. It's a thin cell wall to allow the water to pass through it easily through process of osmosis. Okay, next we have our gut cell. So gut cell is to control the opening and closing of the stoma for gases exchange and transpiration. So the adaptation, it contains chloroplasts to produce glucose via photosynthesis, and a large vacuole to regulate the osmotic pressure and ultimately opening and the closing of the stoma. Okay, kenapa? Sebab bila contoh kenapa dia ada vacuole yang besar? So let's say air masuk dengan banyak. So bila air banyak masuk, apa akan jadi pada vacuole? Vacuole akan mengembang. Bila vacuole dah mengembang, so dengan kata lain, stoma tu akan menolak dinding-dinding sel tu, menyebabkan ia menutup kita punya stoma. Tapi bila air keluar pula, barulah kita punya dinding sel, kita punya stoma akan terbuka. So next, we are going to talk about cell organization in human. So, tadi kita dah cerita pasal sel. So sel, bila dia jadi banyak, kita akan panggil dia tissue. So tissue is a group of cell that have the same structure and function and also arranged together to carry out a specific function. So dengan kata lain, tissue ni adalah kumpulan-kumpulan sel yang sama structure dan fungsi yang disusun bersama-sama untuk menjalankan specific function. So in an organism, tissues can be classified into 4 types, which are epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, nerve tissue, and connective tissue. So ni ya. So first we are going to talk about epithelial tissue. So it consists of epithelial cells that closely laid together to form continuous sheet. So the epithelial cell cover the outer surface, skin, and a hollow surfaces in the body, such as our digestive tract and our respiratory tract. So it performs different functions, namely for protection, absorption, secretion, and lubrication. So some of them undergo adaptation, forming glands and slender cilia suited to their respective tissue function. So inilah. So biasanya soalan akan tanya siapa yang akan ada cilia. So kalau korang perasan dekat sini, dia adalah ciliated columnar epithelium. So kita boleh jumpa dekat respiratory tract. Okay, kalau yang ni pula, yang ni kita boleh jumpa dia dekat mana? Dekat kita punya air sac of the lung. Kenapa? Sebab dia berbentuk nipis. Kenapa dia nipis? Sebab untuk memudahkan pertukaran gas. Next is our muscle tissue. So muscle tissue, kita ada 3 jenis muscle tissue, which is skeletal muscle, smooth muscle dengan cardiac muscle. So first, skeletal muscle. So skeletal muscle is involved in control movement. So skeletal muscle contract and relax to generate movement in the bones and limb. So found in legs and hand. So dengan kata lain, skeletal muscle ni kita boleh jumpa dekat kaki dengan tangan kita. So dia adalah control movement. Dengan kata lain, kita boleh kawal dia. Manakala untuk smooth muscle pula, the contraction and relaxation of small muscle enable involuntary activities such as peristalsis around the digestive tract. So it also can be found in the walls of the hollow organ, digestive tract, urinary bladder, and uterus. So last kali kita ada cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle used to build up the heart, the walls of the heart, so that it can contract to pump the blood to the whole body. So the cardiac muscle contraction is involuntary and found only in the walls of the heart. So untuk cardiac muscle ni kita hanya boleh jumpa dia dekat jantung sahaja. So macam mana nak bezakan skeletal dengan cardiac? Okey, untuk smooth senang untuk bezakan dia sebab dia memang berbentuk macam ni. Dia ada mata. Mata ni dia punya nukleus lah. Dia akan sambung. Untuk cardiac muscle pula, dia punya nukleus terletak di atas sel tu sendiri. So dengan kata lain, kalau ini bentuk dia, dia akan ada dekat dalam ni. Untuk si skeleton ni pula, skeleton yang akan ada di atas. Macam ni. Macam ni nukleus dia. So bila nukleus dia dekat atas, dia adalah skeletal muscle. Kalau nukleus dekat dalam, dia adalah cardiac muscle tissue. Next is our nerve tissue. So nerve tissue is made up of neuron or nerve cell. So each neuron consists of a cell body and a nerve fiber called dendrites and axons. There are 3 types of neuron, such as sensory neuron, relay neuron, and also motor neuron. Dan benda tu, yang lain tu benda biasa je, tapi jangan risau sebab kita akan jumpa untuk chapter 12 nanti kat neuron tu. Next, we have our connective tissue. So connective tissue consists of a various type of tissue and fiber embedded in the extracellular matrix. So the tissue is distributed all over the body and have many functions. One of the function is to link the organs. So the extracellular matrices exist as a liquid, such as blood plasma, a solid, such as our bone matrix, and a soft gelatin-like substances, such as chondrion in our cartilage. So we have our loose connective tissue that links the epithelial tissue to the tissue below it and fixes the organs of their position. We have our blood tissue, which played a functional role in regulation, transportation, and protection. We have the fibrous connective tissue that form tendons and ligament. The tendons connect bones with muscle, and the ligament connects bones with bones. Next, we also have the adipose tissue. So adipose tissue is a connective tissue that keep the fat under the skin, the meat, and the surface of the main organ. We have our bone tissue, which are used to form the body frame and protect the internal organs. Lastly, we have our cartilage tissue that encloses bone tip to prevent the bone from wearing out. Okay, tadi dia cerita pasal human and animal lah. Dia sekali lah merangkumi semua. Sekarang kita akan cerita pasal tissue organization in plant pula. So, plant tissue is divided into 2. They are permanent tissue and meristematic tissue. So, untuk meristematic tissue, kita ada apical meristematic tissue and kita ada lateral meristematic. Untuk permanent tissue pula, kita terbahagi kepada 3, iaitu ground tissue, vascular tissue and dermal tissue. So ground tissue pun juga terbahagi pada 3, which is parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Vascular tissue divided into 2, which are xylem and phloem, and dermal tissue adalah kita punya dinding, kita punya kulit pokok tu sendiri. So it consists of 2 general tissue, meristematic and permanent tissue. Untuk meristematic consists of a small cell and thin wall, which large nucleus, dense cytoplasm and have no vacuole. It undergo active mitotic division to produce new cell for growth. So 2 commonly type of meristematic tissue, which are apical meristem and lateral meristem. So apical kita boleh jumpa dekat tip of the roots and shoot. So kiranya kalau kita satu pokok tu, so dekat hujung dia, kat pucuk dia, kita panggil dia sebagai apical meristem. So untuk lateral pula, so apical maksudnya apex, hujung-hujung. Kalau lateral maksudnya sisi. So dia ada kat vascular cambium and cork of cambium of the plant. So biasanya lateral meristem ni digunakan untuk pembesaran sisi dia. Kalau untuk apical untuk pembesaran atas dan bawah. So next, it also consists of 3 permanent tissue, ground, epidermal and vascular tissue. So untuk ground tissue dia ada 3 pula. Kita ada parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So first kita tengok parenchyma tissue. So parenchyma tissue karakteristik dia adalah it is the simplest among the ground tissue. They have spherical thin walled cell with large vacuole and located throughout the plant. So their function is to give support and shape. It's also used as a food storage in the form of starch and also site for photosynthesis with the help of mesophyll cell. As for collenchyma tissue pula, so dia punya karakteristik, it provides support to herbaceous plant, petioles and young stem. So fungsi dia, terbalik kat sini. So their characteristic is uneven thickening of collenchyma wall by cellulose pectin and found in the stem, petiole and below the epidermis. Sorry, ni terbalik ya. Patutnya karakteristik dia, yang ni adalah karakteristik dia. Karakteristik. And this is the function. So next we have our sclerenchyma tissue. So sclerenchyma give structural support and mechanical strength to the plant. Sama juga, terbalik lagi sekali. So ini adalah dia punya karakteristik. And ni adalah dia punya function. So dia punya karakteristik tadi adalah dia ada cell wall that are uniformly thickened with lignin and they have matched sclerenchyma cell that are dead, yang dah mati. Next we have our epidermal tissue. So epidermal tissue, it forms a outermost layer which cover the stem, leaf and the young roots. Epidermal tissue are flat and have large vacuoles. The cells are closely packed and are covered with layers of waxy waterproof cuticle. The root hair cells are specialized epidermal cells that are formed hair-like extension to increase the surface area, and the gut cells are specialized epidermal cell found in the lower epidermis of the plant. So biasanya gut cell ni kita jumpa dekat bawah daun tu, bawah pokok tu. So function ni pula, the waxy cuticle protect the plant from water loss, physical injury and also pathogenic infection. So the pairs of gut cell control the opening and closing of the stoma. The root hair cell helps in absorption of water and minerals from the soil. Next, xylem tissue. So xylem tissue without cross wall are joined end to end to form a long hollow xylem vessel. So xylem vessels are dead and have no cytoplasm, and their walls are deposited with lignin. As for the function, it transport water and dissolve mineral salts from the root to all the parts of the plant. So the xylem vessel also have lignified and bundled together to provide mechanical support to the plant. Macam mana dia boleh bagi mechanical support? Since dia angkut air. So bila dia angkut air, ingat tak tadi kita cerita? So air akan masuk kat dalam dia punya vacuole. Bila dia masuk kat vacuole, dia akan jadi apa? Dia akan jadi segah. It will become turgid. So bila dia jadi turgid, dia akan menolak dinding-dinding sel tu ke tepi. So dengan kata lain, dia boleh membenarkan pokok tu untuk berdiri. So saya nak bagi tips. Kalau korang tak ingat, okay, kita ada dua jenis vascular tissue. So lepas ni kita akan tengok pasal flowworm pula. Okay, kita share pasal flowworm dulu. So flowworm consists of specialized cells called as safe tube, companion cell, phloem fiber and phloem parenchyma cell. So it transport food from the leaf to the other parts of the plant. Okay, kata kalau korang confused, kita ingat balik. So kita belajar huruf kan? So huruf kita belajar start dengan huruf A sampai Z. So kita jumpa flowworm P dulu ke kita jumpa xylem dulu? Kita jumpa flowworm dulu, P. So P dekat atas. Atas kita jumpa matahari. So matahari akan bagi cahaya dia kena dekat daun untuk buat proses fotosintesis. So makanan daripada atas dia akan gerak ke bawah. So flowworm from leaf to other parts. Untuk xylem pula, so kita siram pokok. Kita siram pokok dekat mana? Kita siram pokok dekat tanah. So tanah dekat bawah. So air akan diserap oleh xylem untuk bawa ke atas. So P hantar ke X, X hantar ke P. P hantar apa? P hantar nutrien yang dah dibuat di daun. Manakala X akan angkut air yang disiram pada akar. So density of certain cell components and specialized cell function. So since the function performed by the cells are different, some cells have a higher density of certain cell components. The density of a cell component in particular cell is related to their specific function. So ini adalah contohnya. Contoh macam dekat sperm cell, dekat muscle cell dengan cell plant meristem cell, dia akan ada banyak mitochondria. Kenapa? So ini adalah dia punya fungsi dia yang korang boleh jumpa kat dalam buku teks. As for chloroplast, boleh jumpa dekat palisade mesophyll dengan spongy mesophyll. Fungsi dia adalah untuk absorb more sunlight. So rough ER and Golgi apparatus boleh jumpa banyak dekat pancreatic cell, goblet cell dengan liver cell. Kenapa? Sebab dia nak menghasilkan ataupun dia akan buat penghasilan sesuatu bahan. Ingat tak? Rough ER dia hantar apa? Dia hantar protein. So mestilah melibatkan dengan protein synthesis. So effect of inadequacy, absence or malfunctioning of the cell component. Tadi kita cerita kat bahagian mana akan ada banyak komponen of cell. Sekarang ni kita akan cerita apa akan jadi kalau tak ada sel tu. So, bila tiada nucleus, cell activity under control of the nucleus will disrupted and terminated. So, sel akan gagal untuk berfungsi juga. So, kalau tak ada mitochondria pula, cell with insufficient of energy will stop functioning or die off, affecting the other normal functioning healthy cell in the other parts of the body. Kalau tak ada rough ER pula, apa akan jadi? It will disrupt the protein synthesis and all the enzyme catalyst processes, resulting in the death of the cell. Kalau masalah dengan ribosom pula, cell are unable to synthesize the protein. It may also cause ribosomopathy, which are disease caused by the failure of ribosomes to function normally in the human cell. Next, kalau tak ada lysosom, apa akan jadi? So, lysosom fungsi dia adalah untuk hydrolyze large molecule to smaller molecules. May cause Tay-Sachs disease, which is a genetic disease that progressively destroy the nerve cell in the baby around 3 to 6 years old. So, ini adalah disebabkan kegagalan sel untuk menghasilkan hexosaminidase A enzyme, which are needed to break down the gangliosides ataupun satu jenis lipid. So, the abnormal build-up of ganglioside destroy the nerve cell, particularly the nerve cell in the brain. Next, chloroplast. Kalau tak ada chloroplast, apa akan jadi? So, they will be unable to carry out photosynthesis and food production is disrupted. So, mutation or viral infection may cause it to be malfunction, causes sclerosis and threatening of the plant survival. Kalau tak ada Golgi apparatus pula, modification, packaging and transporting of protein and lipid will be failed to proceed. It also what also happen is that the termination of all excretory activities and may cause a nerve degenerative disease. So, habis untuk subtopik 2.3. Next, kita akan terus masuk subtopik 2.4, which is level of organization in multicellular organism. So, the division of labor among specialized cells require cooperation and coordination between them for a living processes to occur in harmony. So, a cooperation and coordination among these cells exists because there is a cellular organization in multicellular. In multicellular organism, cells are organized from the simplest to the complex cell. So, we begin with the cell, followed by a tissue made up organ will made up system, and system will made up of human or organism. So, in human organ system, we have around 13 system in our body. Kita ada 13 system. So, first kali kita ada digestive system. So, main function dia adalah untuk digestion of food and absorption of nutrient and water into the body. And also used as to eliminate indigestible waste from the body. So, main organ yang terlibat adalah kita punya mouth, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, small intestine, colon, and rectum, and anus. Next, we have our respiratory system. So, main function dia adalah untuk gases exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the body and external environment. So, the main organs involved are nose, trachea, bronchus, lung, and diaphragm. Our cardiovascular system ataupun kadang-kadang kita panggil dia sebagai blood circulatory system. It transport oxygen, nutrient, hormones to the cell. It also transport carbon dioxide and excretory waste from the cell. So, dia akan bawa oksigen dan nutrient kepada sel. Dia akan angkut keluar carbon dioxide dengan bahan-bahan buangan kita keluar daripada sel. So, main organ yang terlibat adalah kita punya heart and kita punya blood vessel. Next is our lymphatic system. So, main function dia adalah untuk return the tissue fluid to the blood circulatory system and to protect the body from infectious diseases. So, main organ involved is our spleen, our lymphatic vessel, our lymphatic nodes and our bone marrow. Our nervous system pula, so dia punya specific function adalah to detect and respond to stimuli and to coordinate body activity. So, dia punya main organ involved is the brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerves and sensory organs. As for integumentary system, it protects the body against physical injuries, infection and dehydration. So, main organs involved is their skin, hair and nails. Endocrine system helps into work together they will work together with the nervous system to coordinate the body activities. Tapi beza dia kali ni, dia akan melibatkan kehadiran hormon, with the presence of hormone. So main organ involved is the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, thymus gland, adrenal gland, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. So basically, most of these are the glands that will secrete the hormone. Next, we have our skeletal system. So main function there is to support the body, give protection to the internal organs, and provide attachment of muscle to facilitate the movement. Organs involved are the bones, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. Lastly, next we have our muscular system. So the muscle will contract and relax to enable the movement. So organ involved or the tissue involved is the skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle tissue. Urinary system is used to produce, store, and eliminate excretory waste from the body, and also to regulate the body through the blood osmotic pressure. So main organs involved are the kidney, urinary bladder, ureter, and urethra. The male reproductive system, their function is to produce and deliver sperm, and also to produce male sex hormone, which is the testosterone. So their main organ involved is the testis, penis, prostate gland, vas deferens, and seminal vesicle. As for female reproductive system, the function is to produce ovum and produce female sex hormones such as other female sex hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. So the main organ involved are the ovaries, fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, and cervix. So that's all for the human system. So we are going to talk about plant system. So plant system is divided into two, which is the shoot system. So the shoot system consists of the stem, leaf, shoots, flower, and fruits. Stem and twigs are to give support to the leaf at a vertical position to allow maximum absorption of sunlight during photosynthesis, while the flowers are involved in the pollination processes. As for the root system, so it consists of roots, all roots in the plant that function to absorb more water and minerals, as well as providing the support to the plant. So basically kita dah cover untuk subtopik 2.4. So with that, we have finished our chapter 2 topic of biology form 4 KSSM, which is cell biology and organization. So next stop, we are going to talk about chapter 3, movement of substances across a plasma membrane. So sampai ketemu lagi, jumpa lagi untuk next video. Anything boleh terus komen kat bawah. So that's all. Bye.